Residue management and weed control are about the only two things you can do in the environment to change the current situation. When it's too dry, coming out of a dry summer, there's not anything a person can do when it doesn't rain for 2 months to totally eliminate that ability to get weed up in the fall. But residue is the first step in doing it, and weed control is second. Weed control is really crucial in corn. You'll drive around, and if most of our corn is all planted for 90% is into wheat stubble, and if you haven't controlled your volunteer, especially if you get like a chaff row or something that has a little more intense volunteer in it, you'll see standability issues in the corn based off of available moisture. So weed control and residue over the soil are the two things that you can primarily do. You have a little bit longer window to gather moisture because wheat comes off in July. So basically you're done using moisture early July in our environment. So there's a summer period there where you collect rainfall in order to have a bigger profile come the next spring. So that's one reason, but just the overall, there's nothing that produces a better consistency of residue cover in our cropping rotation than wheat. And so even this proso, if it comes off and you go back into this with corn, for example, the wheat stubble we have just down there in the rotation, well, it's been done using moisture for 2 months, so it might be 1.5 inches, 2 inches ahead in the soil profile right now than what this millet crop will be. So if you don't have a really big winter, you're already behind on total soil moisture. And this is a much stemmier crop than wheat. It's not nearly as thick. Once it comes off, it won't shade the ground nearly as well as wheat stubble. And whether there's a synergy, which has been talked about for years, between wheat and corn, and that's why we get a little extra perk out of the corn too, could play into that factor.